let's talk about the Frankfurt School, because I know you want to talk about the Frankfurt School.
Yeah.
First of all, what is the Frankfurt School?
In 1935, the Soviet Union bosses, the Stalins of this world, were getting concerned that the workers of the world weren't uniting and losing their chains and picking up the chains of the European Union, because they really thought that they would, through revolution, end up ruling the whole world, the Soviet bosses. Mm-hmm. So they bought, well, they actually invested in the sociology department of the German Frankfurt University and commissioned them to write, they renamed it the Frankfurt School, and commissioned them to write reports on how to sabotage nations. And these guys did a bang-up job. They started with the 24 Protocols of Zion and came up with 200 Frankfurt School subversion techniques.
Are you saying that they wrote the Protocols of Zion?
No. They just took a copy of those as a base to start with. The Protocols of Zion were about 40 years older.
Okay.
And
we won't, I don't think it's worth debating whether those were genuine or anything else about them, because that's a whole other topic.
Well, who cares? They work. They're brilliant. And the European Union started applying these in Britain in the 1950s. So the first thing was to empty the churches. That's the Frankfurt School subversion technique, because if you get people to stop believing in religion, you can then fill them up with other Frankfurt School subversion techniques like mindless TV, football, reality TV shows, all Frankfurt School subversion techniques to stop people thinking.
Okay, let me just ask you a question here. Mr. Crowley in Essex says, "Hi Theo, can you please ask your guest if he is a Christian fundamentalist? What are his religious views? Thanks." Well, it seems like an appropriate time to ask that question. Are you coming at this from a religious perspective?
I was a Christian, but I have been totally disappointed.
Totally God hasn't blessed you then, clearly.
Yeah. Doesn't answer prayers. I mean, the thing that really gets me about Christianity is in the Church of England. Ever since the 1950s, we have been praying that our Queen will rule us wisely in accordance with our laws and constitution. Now that's 20 million people every Sunday, right, for 50 years. That adds up to 2.5 billion prayers that God ignored. And what have we got? A Queen that has abolished not just our constitution but our entire nation. So all those prayers are wasted. So that's it for me.
Okay, so if God is watching, that is not necessarily the opinion of this show either. Okay, so getting back to the Frankfurt School, so their plan was to dismantle society as we know it.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So by making us not go to church, breaking up families, was that?
Yeah, the attack on fathers and the families, corruption of the courts. The courts are completely controlled by Freemasonry. It's practically impossible to find a judge or a barrister who isn't a Freemason, so they're judging cases on the basis of the Freemasonry agenda, not on the basis of justice.
Okay. And so they're being successful then? You think the Frankfurt School policies are successful?
Stunningly successful. I mean, you know, the encouragement of drinking, so we've got 24-hour drinking, that's the Frankfurt School subversion technique. Feminism.
Teenage prostitution.
Yes.
And all that kind of stuff.
Single-parent families. And brainwashing by the media.
And isn't it interesting, I was reading something about pornography. You can sell it to children in this country because they fudged the law, but only in this country.
Yes. Oh, that's another Frankfurt School subversion technique, of course. The teaching of sex and homosexuality to under 10s. That's a Frankfurt School subversion technique. And there are 200 of these, and they've been stunningly successful. And, you know, we now have the highest sort of abortion rate, the highest teenage pregnancy rate. Our families are breaking apart. We've got divorce left, right and centre.
They're trying to stop homeschooling for those who teach their children at home.
Yes.
That can't be allowed anymore, obviously.
Correct. Yeah.
But it does seem like, you know, some elements of this Frankfurt School do seem to be in our society, I think.
Yes. All of it. It's all been stunningly successful. I mean, the thing that amazes me is that we've gone on as long as we can. It does take an awful lot to destroy an economy. When we went into the European Union, we were the third largest economy in the world. We're still the fifth largest. That's another Frankfurt School subversion technique, by the way, to be told that our nation is too small to survive on its own. Everyone's been saying this. Well, we're still the fifth largest economy in the world, which means there are 200 economies, 200 nations in the world smaller than us. So if we can't survive on our own, that means there's 200 nations smaller than us who can't survive, and only 5 that can. It's utter rubbish.
And what about the cost? What about the cost that we're paying huge amounts to Europe every day, aren't we?
Oh, forget that. That's minor. Oh, that's tiny. Let's look at the real costs. There are now 8,500 EU quangos in Britain. That is, quangos that we have had to open because the EU wants them. According to the Cabinet Office, who also state that the cost of them in 2007 was 167 billion. That's 12% of our entire economy of 1,330 trillion.
12% of our economy is quangos, European quangos. These are not the old British quangos that we know and love.
Yeah,
you're saying these are like new, foreign accented quangos.
Yeah, these are quangos that have grown up in the last 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 10, 15 years. Add to that, according to the government's Better Regulation Commission, we spend 100 billion a year on EU regulations. Add those two figures together, you get 267 billion wasted on Europe.
I just thought it might be worth explaining exactly what a quango is before we go on.
Right. It's global warming quangos are the...
Well, the word quango means quasi-autonomous,
yes,
non-governmental organisation,
yeah,
doesn't it?
Yeah. So a quango is it's a government body that is funded by the government but has its own sort of board of directors. And they're all over the place. You know, the area of outstanding natural beauty quango, where people get paid 300 grand a year to stand on cliff walks and have pictures taken of them. It's the most ridiculous one I can think of at the top of my head at the moment. But basically, quangos are a bribery structure. You bribe influential people with 300,000 a year salaries to turn a blind eye to the encroachment of the European Union. They are effectively bought placemen in government. They are patronage. And when you think that the total amount spent on benefit, the dole, all kinds of benefits, is a tiny fraction of that.